Rising tuition fees in 2025. 4 million of international students. This is truly sad news. Studying abroad has always been a dream for young people across the globe. Whether it's pursuing higher education in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, or Australia, international students bring diversity, innovation, and billions of dollars to these economies. But in 2025, things are changing. Tuition fees are rising at record levels, scholarships are becoming harder to get, and students are being forced to make tough choices. In today's video, we will explore why tuition fees are going up, how it impacts international students, which countries are most affected, and what alternatives students may have in the near future. So, stay tuned till the end, because this update might affect your study abroad plans or those of someone you love. Let's begin with the most important question. Why are tuition fees rising in 2025? There are several key reasons. Global inflation. Over the last few years, inflation has driven up the cost of living everywhere. Universities now face higher costs for staff salaries, electricity, maintenance, and campus facilities. These extra costs are being passed down to students in the form of higher tuition. Government funding cuts. Many governments, especially in countries like the UK, Canada, and Australia, have reduced subsidies for universities. As a result, institutions rely more heavily on international student fees to cover expenses. Demand for international education. Even with rising costs, the number of students applying abroad keeps increasing. Universities know that demand is strong, and so they raise fees without losing too many applicants. Housing and living costs. Tuition is not the only problem. Rent, utilities, food, and transport costs have also gone up, making the total cost of studying abroad much higher in 2025. Post-pandemic recovery. Universities claim they are still recovering from the financial damage caused by the pandemic years. Online classes, reduced enrollment, and cancelled research programs all created funding gaps that institutions are now trying to cover. So, in simple words, students are paying more because universities need more money, governments are giving less support, and demand remains strong. But what does this mean for international students? The impact is massive. Financial burden. Many families save for years, sell property, or take huge loans just to send their children abroad. Rising tuition makes this dream out of reach for many middle-class households. Part-time job struggles. Students often work part-time to cover expenses. But higher tuition and rising rent mean they must work longer hours, sometimes at the cost of their studies and health. Mental health issues. The stress of debt and financial pressure is leading to rising levels of anxiety and depression among international students. Fewer applications. In some countries, like Australia and the UK, early reports suggest that fewer students are applying in 2025 compared to previous years. This could create a talent gap in the future. Shift to alternative destinations. Countries like Germany, France, and some Asian nations that offer free or lower-cost education are becoming more attractive. Students are beginning to look away from the US, UK, and Australia, which traditionally dominated the education market. For students, this isn't just about money, it's about their future careers, their dreams, and the sacrifices their families have made. Now let's break down how tuition fees are changing in different countries in 2025. United States. The US remains the most expensive study destination. Average tuition fees for international students in public universities now range between $27,000 to $45,000 per year, while private universities can cost over $60,000 annually. Rising healthcare and insurance costs also add pressure on international students. United Kingdom. The UK has seen sharp increases, especially after Brexit. Undergraduate tuition for international students ranges between £18,000 to £38,000 per year. Some top universities are charging even higher for specialized courses like medicine and engineering. Canada was once considered affordable, but fees are rising fast. Average tuition for international students is now $25,000 Canadian dollars to $40,000 Canadian dollars per year. Combined with a housing crisis, many students are struggling financially. Australia tuition fees for international students are typically between $20,000 to $45,000 per year. On top of that, living costs in cities like Sydney and Melbourne are among the highest in the world. Europe, Germany, France, Nordic countries. Germany still offers tuition-free education at most public universities, except for small administrative costs. France and Nordic countries also keep fees relatively low. Because of this, many students are now shifting to Europe as an alternative. In summary, traditional destinations are becoming too expensive, while countries that offer affordable education are gaining popularity. One of the saddest consequences of rising tuition fees is the student debt crisis. In the US, total student loan debt has already crossed $1.7 trillion in 2025. International students who borrow money face even tougher conditions, as they often cannot access local student loan programs. Many graduates are forced to work for years in low-paying jobs just to pay off debt, delaying their ability to buy homes, start families, or invest in businesses. For some, the dream of studying abroad turns into a nightmare of debt. Imagine this: a student borrows $100,000 for a degree. By the time they graduate, interest has pushed the debt even higher. Without stable jobs or visas, paying this back becomes nearly impossible. This is why rising tuition fees are not just sad, they are dangerous for the future of young people worldwide. Now the big question: what can students do in 2025? Here are some possible alternatives. Scholarships and grant students should apply for as many scholarships as possible. Universities, governments, and private organizations all offer funding opportunities. Affordable destinations countries like Germany, France, Italy, Norway, and some Asian countries offer low-cost or free tuition. These may be better choices for budget-conscious families. Online and hybrid programs. Many universities are now offering online master's and bachelor's degrees at lower costs. Students can save on tuition and living expenses by choosing hybrid learning. Community colleges, USA and Canada. Starting at a community college and then transferring to a larger university can reduce overall tuition costs. Employer sponsorships. Some companies offer to pay for tuition if students agree to work for them after graduation. This can be a smart way to reduce debt. Staying local. Many students are now choosing to stay in their home countries, where universities are improving in quality, rather than paying huge fees abroad. The bottom line: students must be more strategic and realistic in 2025 when planning their education journey. So, what does the future hold? If tuition fees keep rising, international education may become something only the rich can afford. Universities may lose talented students who cannot pay high costs. Countries that depend on international students for economic growth may face challenges if fewer people apply. On the other hand, we may also see reforms. Governments could step in to regulate fees, or more scholarships might be introduced. The global education industry is at a crossroads. Will studying abroad remain a dream for millions, or will it become a luxury for the few? Only time will tell. Voice softens, emotional music rises. To every student watching this, remember, rising tuition fees may be sad news, but your dreams are still valid. Education is about passion, knowledge, and perseverance. Yes, studying abroad is expensive in 2025, but alternatives exist. Scholarships, affordable destinations, and new forms of learning can still open doors. So don't lose hope. Plan carefully, research deeply, and keep fighting for your future. If you found this video useful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on global education, immigration, and student life. And tell us in the comments, would rising tuition fees stop you from studying abroad, or would you still go for it no matter the cost? This is the end of today's report. Rising tuition fees in 2025, sad news for international students. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next update.